Hello, welcome. There's a wee bit of a hiccup there with the software. There's a figure a workaround for it. Hello, welcome to the Wednesday edition of A Proud Malcontent. And I'm Pete Bell, and I'm a Proud Malcontent, and for bloody good reason. I was just looking at the papers this morning and feeling a bit grim. It's a beautiful sunny day here. You know, it's not like October at all. We're the worst days during the summer than this. It's a gorgeous day. Has to be, of course, because I've no washing to do today. There's no washing to dry today. So obviously you get a great drying day when there's no laundry. Sod's law. You know, these are just some of the reasons that I am a malcontent. And looking at the papers with Mackie seek, so it would on. Right, let's do it anyway. Let's get it over with. I'll have a bit great about it, so as you didn't have to bother. Okay. First thing I saw when I looked at the paper this morning was SNP in fresh Westminster bid to strip Prince Andrew of titles. This witch hunt against Andrew, whatever we're supposed to call him now, Andrew Windsor or just creepy Andrew. I don't know. I don't know what titles he's got left. By the time they're finished, he'll not be able to even call himself Mister. I'm not comfortable with witch hunts. And this is not to say that. This is not to say that this particular character doesn't deserve to be hunted because he is a witch. But witch hunts in general make me very uncomfortable. It make me very uneasy. I find them distasteful and a little bit scary because the way I look at it, you know, you're always thinking things through, you know, looking past the point where you're supposed to stop thinking. The way I look at it is if they can mount a witch hunt against one person, they can mount it against anybody. And okay, this one deserves it. He deserves everything he's got coming to him. But I'm always concerned that this kind of witch hunt, this kind of pile on by the media, is going to be misused. It could very well be misused. It has been misused in the past. There are people who have been demonized by the media. Jeremy Corbyn immediately comes to mind, what was done to him. And he's far from the only one. I'm not about to start cataloguing them. There's probably far too many, but it can be a double-edged sword, the witch hunt. I'm a great one for the comeuppance. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. We were watching a movie, you know, an adventure movie or whatever, and my wife and I do at the weekends just to relax in the evening. We watch some action adventure movie or something, and there's always a villain, and there's always the bit where, or there's usually the bit where the villain gets his comeuppance, he gets his just desserts, and I do like a good comeuppance, you know, and the more wicked the villain, the more artful the comeuppance has to be. You know, just him getting shot, that's not good enough. It's got to be something artful, something contrived and imaginative if he's really, really bad. And that's the way I see with witch hunts. They can be contrived, and you like somebody to get their comeuppance. and that's got an appeal, a psychological appeal to it. Somebody getting their just desserts, somebody on the high perch getting knocked down, somebody getting knocked down a peg. Especially somebody as I don't know the chap personally. You know, if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Yeah? And you see what happens. I don't know the chap, but I believe he is a most magnificently, monumentally arrogant bastard. Uh, uh, and I can quite believe, and just looking at that picture of him there, pictures can sometimes tell you a lot. They can sometimes lie as well, but just the expression on his face there, it just seems to have captured somebody who thinks he's the victim, that he is above all this criticism and nobody's any right to be speaking to him or about him in that way. There's this massive sense of entitlement to go with the arrogance, of course. So I don't mind seeing creatures like that getting their comeuppance, but be very, very wary of the whole witch hunt culture, because one day you could be on the receiving end of that, because it works against the innocent just as well as it does against the guilty. Right, now, what was the next story that I looked at? Oh, yes, there's two that kind of tie together here. There's this one here was UK ministers. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. There was another aspect to this that slipped my mind. I've got notes in front of me here, and I've totally forgot to look at them. The other aspect of this is the Stephen Flynn, the SNP leader in the House of Commons, and he's got involved. He's used one of the SNP's few days when they get to move something in Parliament, and he's looking to strip all. He's demanding that the government strip Andrew of all his titles. I thought he'd given most of them up anyway, so he's probably kept the most lucrative ones. But the major question that comes to my mind is why? Why is Stephen Flynn getting involved in this? It's the English royal family. It's nothing to do with us. I don't know anybody in Scotland who's affected by Prince Edward and what he's done. There could be an argument that we're all affected by that kind of thing going on in society. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't know anybody in Scotland. So what is Stephen Flynn doing? Could he not have found something to do with Scotland? Something that actually relates to Scotland, to use that opportunity. It just strikes me as being totally out of place, and it smacks to me of that old settled down thing, where they were supposed to be sent to Westminster to settle up, and they've all settled down. I mean, look at Pete Wishart, the man who's proud as boast as he's he's been an MP for 20 years. He spent 20 years totally failing to restore Scotland's independence. What a boast. But Stephen Flynn, this whole thing, it smacks of the same thing. It's the Britification of our MPs. There's a Britification of everything in Scotland. That's what colonisation does. It's a racial, if not a racist thing. Everything has to be Britified. Everything has to be made to conform with some British standard, which not even those that call them British live up to that standard. But never mind. Is this Britification process? But there is no such thing as Scottish MPs, of course. There are only British MPs. But Stephen Flynn looks to me to have fallen into a trap there. It just looks to me as if he's caught up. This will get the headlines. This is the thing that will grab the public's attention. So yeah, let's go with that and see what we can squeeze out of it. Well, we're not going to squeeze anything out of it for Scotland, nor Scotland's cause. It's just a piece of nonsense. I mean, these are just celebrities, and not even A-list celebrities, for goodness sake. Now, this I think is considerably more important. UK ministers discussing overriding Holyrood with college funding. And this also connects to another story here. Where this Labour minister says Scottish independence would be a win for Putin. You know, it ties in because in both senses, this is the British establishment trying to undermine Holyrood, delegitimise Holyrood, and delegitimise the Scottish government. The overriding Holyrood with college funding, this relates to the other story because the UK is proposing, or allegedly proposing, to fund directly college places for people who have people to develop skills, young people to develop skills that will be useful to the defence industry. Well, great. Teach kids welding was mentioned as one of them, but I would imagine the defence industry covers just about every skill that there is, except peacemaking. It's the undermining of the Scottish government, the undermining of the Scottish Parliament, and it's again connected to this Britification, where the funding goes into place, and it's British funding or UK funding. The two things mean much the same. So it is Britification of that funding as well. And the idea is, apart from the undermining of the Scottish government and Scottish Parliament, there's this idea that people will come to identify the education that they've received as a gift from the mother country, a gift from the colonizer. Well, the colonizer doesn't give gifts. There's always a price to be paid. And the price here would be damage to the legitimacy and the credibility of the Scottish Parliament and the Scottish government. The other story there is along the same lines. There's this Labour minister called Pollard, who is talking about it would be a win for Vladimir Putin. What he's saying basically is that Scottish independence would weaken the British state's defence, and that this would somehow be a win for Putin. And of course, it kind of goes without saying that the Pollard chappie is speaking in defence of not just the defence industry, but the so-called nuclear deterrent, which isn't. And it somehow thinks, it seems to think anyway, that Scotland we restore our independence, and we immediately, or in the very short term, shortest term that can be safely done, we get rid of all the nuclear weapons from the Clyde. and that somehow Putin would take that as a signal that he could do something. What? I don't know. What is he going to do? Is he going to invade Scotland the same way as he invaded Ukraine? I rather doubt it. You know? He's got quite a few places to go through before he gets there. And I simply don't think he's got the capability. I don't really think he's got the interest either. He's not looking for an overseas empire. He's like all imperialists. Putin is defending the motherland or fatherland, whichever. Is it motherland in Russia? I think is the term that they use. He's defending the motherland, and the imperial state's weakest point is its borders. So the imperialist strategy is to defend its borders beyond its borders. Now, that's what NATO is all about. That is the USA defending its territory on somebody else's territory. NATO is all about stopping Russia in particular, stopping Russia before they get anywhere near America. Stop them in Europe. You know, flatten Europe with war, and we're talking probably conventional warfare here. Flatten Europe, and that's fine. But because imperialist states look to defend beyond their border, that's what they do. They look to control the lands just forth of their border, exercise some control there. They have these satellite states, so that they can exercise some measure of control, sometimes a great deal of control. And that protects their border, because anybody wants to get at their borders, they've got to come through this other territory. And that is to my mind, that is all Putin is doing. He's just doing what all imperialists do. I don't say it's right, but that's all it is. And as such, the UK is a long way down his list of priorities, I would imagine. Scotland, not so much, because Scotland is geopolitically very strategically important because of our maritime borders and the area of the North Sea and the North Atlantic that's kind of policed by Scotland. You know, we're sort of the guardians of it. It's strategically very important, which is why I say that we would probably be obliged, or find it expedient to join NATO after independence. I know a lot of people don't like that idea. I don't like it much myself. But in these situations, when the imperialists are battling it out, and you're somewhere in between. You're a smallish country, somewhere in between, small relative to these two. Either you pick a side, or a side picks you. That's pretty much the way it works. So it would be a case of choosing a side. Neutrality would simply not be an option. Scotland, as I say, is too geopolitically important for neutrality to be an option. But this is more about the defence industry and the nuclear deterrent. And this is Britain, the British state, Great Britain, their conceit of themselves. Their conceit of themselves is as a global power. That's how they see themselves. And anything that threatens to diminish that, obviously, they're against it. Yeah. Scotland restoring our independence, that would diminish the British state, both territorially and in terms of status and politically. Likewise, the loss of the nuclear deterrent. And it was noticeable that Pollard seemed to assume that it would be lost. He's not talking about moving it to somewhere in England. He assumes that if it's gone from Scotland, then it's gone from the whole of the UK. And that's the attitude, because they would never, ever, they would face massive public outcry if they tried to move these weapons anywhere in England. They simply wouldn't get it. And Pollard is down there in London, rattling his sabre at the Russian bear, safe in the knowledge that the pointy end of that sabre's 600 kilometres up the road in Scotland. Maybe he thinks that the population of the central belt of Scotland will soak up all the radiation before it gets them. No, you're no safe anywhere. They start throwing these things about. They're called weapons of mass destruction for a reason. It's because they destroy masses. They just destroy. It's all to do with this Britain's conceit of itself as a great nation, because there's markers for these great nations, which is just another word for imperialist nations. All the great powers are all imperialist powers. They have this conceit of themselves, and some of the consequences that could flow from Scotland restoring independence are loss of the nuclear deterrent. And I'll put that in air quotes because it really isn't a deterrent. If it's a deterrent, then nobody needs them, or everybody needs them, because it's a weapon of offence. It's an offensive weapon if only some people have it. If only some states have it, it's an offensive weapon because it can be used to threaten the states that don't have it. The deterrence argument, take Iran, for example. The deterrence argument that it deters other states from mounting a nuclear attack or going to war, whatever, that it acts as a deterrence. There's not a country, excepting possibly Japan, there's not a country in the world that has more claim to say that it needs a deterrent than Iran. Iran is constantly being threatened by the West, the US. They're constantly being threatened, and yet they have all the reasons for the UK having a nuclear deterrent. That those reasons apply to Iran, but even more so. So, do we sit back? Do we want Iran to have nuclear weapons? I don't think so, no. But if you're using the deterrence argument, then you're going to have to explain how come the deterrence argument only applies to the states which already have. Only they are entitled to have this deterrent. Why isn't Iran? Now, I quite believe that Iran wouldn't want it. South Africa famously had nuclear weapons and decommissioned them, just got rid of them. Japan has never been allowed to have it, but Japan never wanted nuclear weapons, as far as I can make out. That's just not their culture, and with their experience of nuclear weapons being used against civilian populations, it could be quite understandable that they don't want it. So it can only be for the purposes of status on the global stage. That's the only purpose having those nuclear weapons serves for the UK. And they lose that nuclear deterrent, and they also lose their seat on the Security Council, which they could lose anyway. But with Scotland leaving, these are some of the reasons that the British state is so opposed to Scotland restoring independence. It's people tend to say that it's because of the money, that Scotland is a cash cow for the British state, for England. And that is true. We're being ripped off. We're being sucked dry. Our resources are being expropriated, and we are actually paying more while they get the benefit. All the energy, all the electricity which is exported, and that was of no benefit to Scotland at all. Any other country that's exporting electricity, they get a benefit from that. We do not. We're entitled to, and that would be a massive thing. England, they just don't fancy having to start paying for things. That's it. But it's not just about the money. There is also this status thing. And that is just as important to the British state's conceit of itself. Right, where are we up to? It's barely past. I was on the letters page. This one's actually from a week ago. I remember reading it at the time and tutting my way through it. Just, oh dear, what? Oh my goodness. And I did mean to come back to it and have a wee word about it, because we couldn't go a whole program without mentioning and discussing what I have now christened Swinney's swindle, his so-called strategy for independence, which is anything but. If it's a strategy at all, it's a strategy for his party and himself. It's all about his personal ambition and partisan aspiration. It's nothing to do with independence. And there seems to be a fairly even split across the country, across the independence movement, between the people who actually recognise Swinney's swindle for the swindle that it is, and the people who simply do not. The people who genuinely imagine that it is actually a strategy for independence, and that it is somehow going to lead to independence being restored. And people who are just reject the whole thing. There is also that category of people who know full well, as John Swinney himself must know, that this will do absolutely nothing for Scotland's cause. Swinney's swindle, it will do absolutely nothing for Scotland's cause. But he's not concerned about that. He's looking to swindle, dupe people into voting SNP. A wee bit of the strong arming, a wee bit of the blackmail there. If you're for independence, you have to vote for SNP because that's the only way it's going to count. If you vote for any of those other nominally pro-independence parties, then your vote won't count as a vote for independence. This is exactly what John Swinney is saying, or is exactly what he's being very careful not to say. But it is the implication of what he is saying. If only a vote for the SNP is a vote for independence, then obviously, votes for the other nominally pro-independence party aren't. So anybody who's thinking about voting for one of the other non-SNP nominally pro-independence parties, look, they might as well vote for one of the British parties for all the good it's going to do Scotland's cause, because not even their votes will count as a vote for independence. Not the way Swinney's getting things set up. That is just one aspect of Swinney's swindle. But I saw this letter, and I saw it as an example of people actually trying to rationalise their choice to stick with the SNP. They try to rationalise it in all manner of ways. And quite a lot of these ways are represented in this letter, which is why I chose it. A hell of a lot. As you can see, I've got a lot of it highlighted because of different examples of just wrong thinking. So I'll read them out one at a time. We'll see how it goes, see if we get time for it all. I did say in the promo for this show today that you would get all of this or less. I was thinking time might run out. This one, or it could just be that I'm not thinking of things to say. If I seem a bit, I should actually explain this earlier. If I seem a bit sluggish, a bit dopey, it's because I'm a bit sluggish and a bit dopey. I'm on pain medication, extra pain medication for the leg ulcers. So that kind of does you in a wee bit. So honestly, I've not been at the wine, no yet anyway. I will be as soon as we're done here. Trust me on that one. Right, back to that letter. All independent supporters must now be aware of a number of routes being considered by a variety of groups, and some even being progressed. That very fact must be giving the Westminster government and other unionists nightmares. I don't think so. I don't see why that would be giving them nightmares. Because the more, shall we just call them that, the more routes that are being explored are considered or pursued, progressed, the weaker will be the support behind them, generally speaking. It divides our strength. And you see that so well. So many that simply don't get support because people are off other things, herding unicorns or whatever. So the fact that there are lots of routes being spoken about, that's all. They're being spoken about, and they're being spoken about outside the political bubble. None of the political parties, particularly the SNP, none of the political parties are talking about any of these other ideas. The only one I'm prepared to talk about is the one that I've been promoting, which is Scottish UDI, which is actually the only thing that will work. And that's where the whole effort should go. However, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So not next year anyway. And whether there'll be another chance or not is very, very doubtful. But the more there are, the less Westminster will be worried. They won't worry more; they'll worry less, because they'll see division of effort, division of resources. They are doing, this is the British state, they are doing everything in their power to denigrate the SNP and Holyrood government impoverish Scotland and prove that we are too wee and too poor to survive without them. Well, that'll just be business as usual then. I mean, they're doing that all the time. And we covered that with the way that they're trying to undermine the Scottish Parliament with direct funding. And you can bet there'll be big labels on that direct funding. Union Jacks plastered all over it. They will almost certainly still refuse another referendum after the election, whatever the result. So here we go. Now, here's somebody who's urging people to support and vote for the SNP and therefore endorse the strategy of asking for another Section 30 order. I have explained previously how that is actually an act of treachery because it exceeds to the doctrine of parliamentary sovereignty. If you're asking Westminster rather than asking the people of Scotland, then you are recognising, acknowledging the sovereignty and the superiority of the British Parliament. So it's treacherous, and you can't be doing that. You can't recognise the sovereignty of the British Parliament without simultaneously, as a corollary, denying the sovereignty of the Scottish people. So here's our First Minister is prepared to go in there and commit this act of treachery, and there isn't another word for it. And again, I reckon he must know. He's not a stupid man. He must know the implications of this, but he's doing it anyway. Because he sees an opportunity for possibly a vote winner there, and B, he's scared to do anything else. Either that, or he just hasn't got the imagination. He's certainly not bold enough to do anything else. The 2014 sham referendum, that's been tried, that's been tested, and that works. And nobody died for that one. No, so it's safe. We'll go for that. We know we won't get it, but yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah, we haven't got a plan for afterwards when it's refused, but that doesn't matter either. Doesn't matter to a lot of their supporters. With the Holyrood election just over 6 months away, time is short for us to prepare a new route, but long enough for Westminster to find a means of blocking it. The new routes are already there. Scottish UDI, Manifesto for Independence, it's already there. It's been there for 6 years. And there will be others who claim that they have routes to independence, but I have never seen them. Nobody's been able to show me a credible strategy for independence other than Scottish UDI. So there's no time at all involved in preparing a new route. It's already done. And long enough for Westminster to find a means of blocking it. Not if that strategy cuts Westminster out completely, which is what the Scottish UDI strategy does. It takes Westminster out of the equation completely, because Westminster has no role in the exercise by the people of Scotland of our right of self-determination. They have no role, and it just appalls me that our politicians, and it's not just the SNP, but our whole political caste is prepared and then nominally pro-independence parties, they are prepared to give the Westminster a role to which they're not entitled. In fact, the UN says they shouldn't even be interfering. When we exercise our right of self-determination, the UK, the administering power, is prohibited from interfering. So This chap here, and I'm not mentioning any names, but this chap here thinks Westminster's going to stop it. So he must be there assuming that it will be looking for Westminster's permission again. Well, no, not necessarily. What would be the point of a new route, as he calls it? What would be the point of a new route that just does exactly the same as the old one? If you're asking Westminster, it's not a route to independence. It's a route to getting a slap down. That's all it is. And it would. There have been times, and there are places where it would have been a route to a dungeon for the treasonous bastard that's doing it. And I mean that this is treasonous, acceding to the alien doctrine of parliamentary sovereignty is treasonous. It goes against the most fundamental principle of Scotland's political identity and our identity as a nation. It's the thing that is distinctive is that the people are sovereign. And if you don't abide by that, you live that principle every day. You don't do a John Swinney and just decide to set it aside because it's expedient, it's politically expedient, it's electorally expedient. So, well, we'll just set that aside. It's only the most important principle in Scotland's constitutional framework and constitutional tradition. Not that important, not as important as me getting to be First Minister again after 2006. Treasonous. Anyway, let's go back to that letter because I dare say there'll be more to get my ire up. Right. Repeating this route, that is the Swinney swindle. Repeating this route will allow us to focus our campaign on converting the undecided to believe in independence, and to see that the SNP is still the main vehicle most able to support our cause. Okay, two parts to that. This focus our campaign on converting the undecided to believe in independence, like you've been doing for 10 years, 11 years, or like you've since 2012 at least. You go back to 1938, you've been trying to convince people. But let's just take the modern era of the independence, the struggle to restore our independence, which I say dates from 2007. Could be 2007, could be 2011, but I would say 2007. Just in that era, we got to that 45% in the sham referendum, September 2014, and then there was a surge after that, huge amount of momentum in 2015. Which Nicola Sturgeon decided to squash. She decided not to use it, just to let it peter out. That was her decision. She did not want to ride that wave. It didn't suit her. And if I'd ridden that way, that's another story. We're talking about this persuading the undecided to believe in independence. Right, it's not happening. It's just not happening. That is a failed strategy. It's an utterly failed strategy. The proof of it is there every single day because we're still burdened with the union. That shows it's a failed strategy. There's the polls. The polls show that it's a failed strategy. So what's going to be different? What's going to be different after 2006 or in this election? What is going to change? I don't see anything new coming out of the SNP. So what is going to be different? What is suddenly going to make a strategy work that hasn't worked for 11, 12, 13 years? Okay. The second part of that, and to see that the SNP is still the main vehicle most able to support our cause. Well, is it? There's two ways of looking at this. One, or it's the main political force in Scotland, the dominant political force in Scotland. Therefore, nothing can happen without the SNP being on board. That is just a simple fact of politics, and that is unlikely to change in the election next year. The SNP is maybe diminished, but it will still dominate. We did that. The independence movement did that. Me, as well as everybody else. We put the SNP in that dominant position because we reckoned that they needed to be in that dominant position. I argued it time after time. We have to make the SNP exceptionally strong because it's going up against the British state. Well, we made the SNP exceptionally strong, dominant in Scotland's politics, except they chose not to go up against the British state. We gave them all they need. We gave them all the power they needed to do it, and they just decided not to bother. Simple as that. So, is the SNP still the main vehicle? This chart says it is. If it is the main vehicle, there's two. I said there's two ways of looking at it. There are those, such as this chart here, who says you argue that you should support the SNP because they're the biggest parties, because they're dominant. You should support them. Again, they're nominally pro-independence. You should support them anyway. Support them anyway. All right, you're not happy with the strategy, but never mind that. It's the SNP. They're the vehicle. Support them. But they're not the vehicle. They've spent the last 11 years proving that they're not the vehicle. Swinney's strategy, Swinney's swindle is proof positive that they're not the vehicle. There is no intention there to push for independence. It is a non-strategy for independence. There are others like myself who argue, who say, yeah, fine, I grant you, the SNP is a dominant party. But to me, that isn't an argument for supporting them, whatever they do. That is an argument for scrutinising them, absolutely rigorously scrutinising them to ensure that they're actually doing the right thing, or that they're actually doing anything at all for Scotland's cause. To say that they're absolutely vital to the independence movement is probably true. They are. That's just the number of the parliamentary arithmetic makes that decision, not me. And the voters, voter inertia, they will still dominate. So they're that dominant power. So yes, we want to support them, but we want to support them as a party of independence, and the SNP has simply stopped being a party of independence. They're pretty much telling you that. Right, I'm rambling on here, and time's going. So that thing about repeating this route, but it seems to be that this chap thinks it saves us having to think about things. We're just going with this old way that worked before. So there's no need to think about it. It's as if it's a lazy way. It's intellectually lazy, intellectually indolent. Now, the next way he says, while cooperating with other parties, electoral law forbids collusion of any kind in elections. Well, yes, that is true, and that is one of the reasons that the SNP doesn't get involved with other parties. I would think it's probably the least of the reasons. There are far more pressing reasons as far as the party is concerned, and the party is looking after its own interests. That's what you would expect of them. The idea that the SNP has no right to consider its interests is just entirely wrong-headed. It is a political party. It's entitled to look after its interests. The point, as far as Scotland's cause is concerned, is that the SNP's interests and the interests of Scotland's cause should coincide, but they don't. Because we have lost the SNP. The SNP is lost to us. The independence movement no longer has a party political and parliamentary arm. And we absolutely need that. It's essential. And the SNP has ceased to be that. They've abandoned that role. They've resigned. They've walked away from the job. And there's nobody to step in. There's nobody even. There aren't even any candidates to step in, because none of the other nominally pro-independence parties are any better. None of them has a proper strategy for independence. But the SNP is still dominant. But it is no longer the party of independence. They just talk about independence all the time. There was another letter that I wrote, that I read. It was going on about how Swinney mentioned independence X number of times in his speech. Yeah, there's an election coming. This is what they do. They talk about independence a lot when there's an election looming, and the subject gets dropped as soon as the votes are counted. Yeah, we've seen that happen so often. Secondly, and more importantly, John must know that it's almost 100% certain Westminster will say no. So is this a cunning plan to show Westminster's true colours? Well, we've seen that a lot of times as well. Oh, we have to do this. We have to do the Section 30 route one more time, just so as to clearly show that Westminster's been undemocratic here, like it hasn't been demonstrated already, like it wasn't demonstrated all the other times that they said no. Is there a magic number here? What is it? 12, 40? Yeah. The matter is proved. It's shown that the British state, the whole British state, because all the British parties are the same, the whole of the British state, the whole of the British political establishment are intent on blocking access to the exercise of our right of self-determination. That is what they're doing. And they're doing it successfully because the Scottish government is colluding with them in this. That's just another part of the treachery. So this whole argument that Westminster has to be shown up again, it never bothered them before. I don't see it bothering them just because it's John Swinney that's doing it. He's just not that special. Banging on. He can then challenge that decision legally. That's very, very doubtful. When they've already accepted, they've set a precedent that the Scottish government can say no. I can't see any legal challenge succeeding. I can't see any real grounds there. This chap talks about he's followed exactly the same process, the process decreed and accepted by Westminster last time. But the last time is not a precedent because so much has changed. This has been a big part of the SNP's argument that things have changed since then. And now they're wanting to say it's still the same. No, there's not going to be a legal challenge. And I'm not sure where it would get us anyway. The most it would get us is a Section 30 referendum, which is no use to us. It's absolutely no use to us. It is not the proper exercise. It's not a proper constitutional referendum. It's a glorified opinion poll. So legal challenge to get what? A referendum that cannot possibly lead to independence. Well, thanks, but no thanks. Any other route then becomes legitimate if Westminster blocked up. Well, other routes can be legitimate in their own right. The Scottish UDI is legitimate in its own right. It doesn't need any barriers removed, except for the barriers that the independence movement is putting up. By not supporting it. Obviously, that's the only barrier. There are no other barriers, so don't need any legal challenge to take away any barriers, because there are none. Scottish UDI just works on its own. Moving to a different route before the election could do more harm than good by risking its defeat. Keep that powder dry. Well, we're going to be in the Union for a long, long time to come, and all we'll have to show for all of this is a lot of dry powder. By risking defeat. And what is Swinney's swindle risking? In fact, there's no risk at all. It's defeated. If independence is the end game, then Swinney's swindle is defeated before it even starts. And particularly on ensuring that our supporters come out to vote. Yeah. Right, okay, I'm done with that. That's enough of that. We are running out of time, and I did want to cover some of the comments. There's one here. Oh, there's quite a lot. Anybody with brains knows energy and power, egomaniacs. Yeah, I get your point, Connor McEwen. Connor McEwen again. Leah Gunn Barrett, Dear Scotland, Substack on Swinney and ICCPR, yeah, enacted in Holyrood. Give us the tools, Swinney. The ICCPR does nothing for Scotland's cause. We've been through that time and time again. Barhead boy has got it right. Yeah, well, you'll need to explain that one to me, Connor, because I haven't seen anything about Liberate Scotland that strikes me as right. It's just not not a contender. Yeah, it's just not there. It doesn't have anything. I've been asking for months, or it seems like months anyway, what their strategy is for independence, how they're going to deal with the issue of legislative competence. And all they say is, oh, we'll just take it. We'll just take it. We'll just take it. But how will you take it? There has to be a process by which you take it. That's what Scottish UDI is. That is the process for taking independence. But they seem to think they're just going to throw away all the rules, all the checks and balances of democracy, and just rule by decree. No, that's not happening. It's not a worry, because they're not going to get anybody elected anyway. Through a Scottish prism, just in case we needed reminded of where bides the Barhead boy. Right, we're just about out of time. This has been fun for me. It's probably been torture for you, but I've quite enjoyed myself and doing a bit of greeting and moaning. I'll be back with you on Sunday when Stephen Duncan will be with us. And he always, yes, this Sunday he's looking at Reform UK and polling, number crunching on Reform UK. Until then, bye for now.